uh, with a very, very special topic, contribution of armed forces into education. Once again, a very, very good evening, everyone. This is Captain Danisha from Kuala Lumpur, and with the background which Mr. Pranav is sharing, we are back with one thing which I always say, that we do share a different color of blood, and that is OG. So, and one more thing before I start, it is not the contribution of forces in education, but you see anything and everything happening in India. If there is flood, army is there. If there is famine, army is there. If there is some problem, army is there. Elections, army is there. Baba so-and-so creating ruckus, army is there. From borders to war to peace to anything where we need some extra support. But then the concern is how it comes. Or the question comes to people's mind, especially for civilians' mind, how does it come? And that comes with the environment Faujis are groomed in, and wives and husbands of Faujis are no less. I'm contributing the spouses of lady officers and officers here, because all of you probably have seen a book which is very, very famous in Army, Wedded to Olive Green, where it talks about how a lady, especially when she gets married to an officer in uniform, how she gets wedded to actually not only to that one single person, but to the organization, contributing in various aspects, whether it is welfare, whether it is ladies club, whether it is other requirement, despite and without compromising on to other duties as mother, as a professional, or whatever she does. And so is the contribution of Faujis. Now coming on to education sector. And here I think I will join in and take the back seat, and I would like to listen to all the educationists and stalwarts, though I have also joined in that journey after committing, after hanging my uniform, serving for 10 years and then hanging it, being a short service commissioned officer. So for this, I would like to invite, people say that we do take care, fair gender something, but here being fair to a gentleman, besides Mr. Pranav, I would like to invite Captain Alokesh to share his views on contribution of forces towards education. So over to you.
Thank you, Captain Danisha. There are two captains incidentally present here, one with the olive green background and the other one with the white background. I'm from Indian Navy, just for the benefit of all. And I basically quit prematurely the service, and I'll tell you the reason for which I quit service. I served for about 22 years in the Navy, and my last posting had been the principal of Sainik School in Tamil Nadu. And that was the time I realized I was there for about 4 to 4.5 years. That is the time I realized that, of course, I was serving the nation. I mean, we are all called services, generally military services and other paramilitary services. In no doubt, I was serving the nation, but I was doing something beyond that, much beyond that. That was building the nation. All of you probably will agree. And a great feeling actually got into me. And then that was the time I decided that I will quit prematurely. And from 2007 onwards, I have been into education, being the head of different schools, and incidentally, I'm here in this place since last about 11 years or so. Now, what I realized that today the world needs more leaders than the politicians, and especially our country. And one of the things which a leader must possess, must have, are the values of life. The values, all of us will agree that the values have eroded substantially, and finally it is going to reflect, and it's finally going to show in the future of the generation. And the values are getting eroded. And one of the methods which I can contribute to the education or to the society is probably the kind of values that I have imbibed in the armed forces. We are all proud, and Captain Danisha started with that opening remark that whether it's a flood, whether it's an earthquake, whether it's a cyclone, whatever it may be, it is basically the armed forces. So one of the thing which is selfless sacrifice. Selfless sacrifice is one of the most important values, which this is apart from honesty and integrity and all kinds of things. So these are the things which comes from the services. And I think as an armed force personnel, being education, I'm not a teacher. There I don't teach, though I have a subject. I'm masters and masters in philosophy, MPhil also. But more than that, my teachers are much better teachers. I don't teach, go and take the subjects per se. But definitely I help the school, I help the students in inculcation of their values. Whatever these values weigh, whatever activities are there, we integrate all these activities into the curriculum along with the academics so that these values are integrated. Mine is, of course, a fully boarding school. I'm continuing with my boarding school education and all these things as a principal. And this is my prime, and I'm sure all the ladies who are, they will all agree with me, whether Captain Denisha has quit services. She was a hardcore uniform officer, and now she is into education. Even as a wife, all the wives who are the ladies who are present, they also contribute, indirectly, they also became a part of the armed forces life. And the kind of values which are integrated, the armed forces ladies, they stand out in the crowd. There is no doubt about it. So far as the way they speak, the type of conversation they make, the way they lead the students, definitely they stand out. And that is what the society needs today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That is well brought forward. Service before self. That is the motto, and that is the reason that armed forces stand out for anything and everything as a responsibility given to them. And not only armed forces, but the spouses of forces personnel are doing wonderful work and contributing to the society. So much so that wherever there are schools where army officers' wives are teaching, that school is always preferred. I remember my husband was posted in Shillong, and the Dean of Nigrims, that is an hospital of AIMS level in Shillong, the Dean of Nigrims, he approached me and he said, can I get my son's admission in army school of 101 area? So, I mean, that was a matter of proud privilege for me, that a person who could afford any level of school, and he is approaching us. And the reason is that he wanted his child to be disciplined and dedicated. And believe you me, in Northeast, if any one of us already stayed and maybe husbands had posting, people are not very well, towards the thought process of armed forces. And that is what is the essence. And that goes with social connect and community connect, which services give beyond their duty onto it. And also, as far as education is concerned, as sir was talking about, that it is the values which trickle down to level of success. Contribution to education doesn't only mean, of course, teaching is one way, very, very direct way of contribution to education, but then enhancing, bringing to a particular level and always looking up to some next level is also a great contribution, where many of us are contributing in direct or indirect way. Yes, now we move on to impatiently, where I'm waiting to hear other speakers. May I now request Ma'am Suchita to share her views on this subject.
Thank you, Dr. Denisha, and it's such a pleasure to hear you. And of course, you're the best person to tell how the army or the forces have been contributing to this journey. But well, yes, I can always say is, as a spouse, I can contribute. I started contributing perhaps was the day I moved into the army life. My father incidentally happened to be in the Navy. So I've been in this background for a long time now. So where I felt was our contribution started was the day I got wedded. I remember my husband being posted in a godforsaken place called Chakrata. If any of you all, I don't know, are aware of this place.
Me and Alka has heard.
I have done rock climbing at Tutu.
Yes, exactly. That's the place you go for paragliding and rock climbing.
It's a beautiful place, man.
So there was this place, and I remember we lived in one of those mountains where you had only one bungalow, which was my bungalow, surrounded by forests all around. And it was in winters that we would see leopard pug marks outside my door. That was the kind of place I lived in. And I was approached by the principal of the SFF, that is the Special Frontier Force school there, to take up English because they could not find an English teacher. My subject happens to be English. And I still remember those days. I had a little young one. My elder one was 1.5 years old. So my husband was sent on exercise. And actually, that was not a place to be living all by yourself, to be very honest, because I had to climb the mountain and take up the school truck, not even the bus. I remember those trucks where they used to, literally pull me up. And those are incidents I can never forget through my whole life. And the day my husband was called for the exercise, actually, I really wanted to quit, to be very honest, because that was not a place I would I would have a fireplace, and then in the evenings the lights would go off. There would be a power cut, so it was quite a drudgery at those days. So anyway, when I took up the job and he was called for the exercise, I could not quit at that juncture because they had grades which were higher, and somewhere she was distraught, the principal there, that at this juncture, I think it was a month of November or something, where will I get a teacher for English? So I then told my husband that I won't go home, let me stay back. And I used to take my 1.5-year-old to school with me. He would be around playing and I used to teach. So that was where my journey started. If you ask me, that was where I first started contributing into the education sector, which happened very incidentally. And then, of course, it moved through Army Public Schools, Kendriya Vidyalayas, and today I am in one of the very elite schools in Mumbai. But yet, what I can tell you is I totally agree with Captain Sen when he says is the value system that is instilled by our army background is very different from anybody else. I see a whole number of schools around me in Mumbai, but somewhere I realize as a principal, I still cannot, change with the times and with the situations, and I cannot give in to certain demands which goes against my principles. So that is where our values are so strong and entrenched into our system, and that is what we contribute to society as well. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Look at the lady, Miss Suchita Malakar. Look at her grace and go back when she was climbing the truck. Education is not only in books. Education is much beyond which a persona transforms from the learner to learner. And that is the best thing which gets transformed from a principal or a teacher from forces background, where she can climb the truck and she can she can travel in the first class of aircraft as well. And that is what is actual education, and that is what is the actual contribution to education, which is much desired when we talk about holistic development of a child. Because otherwise, had it been only books and learning and remembering and producing on paper, probably now the time has come when everybody has learned that it is online, so everybody would have done that distance learning and cleared all the possible examinations. So thank you so much, ma'am, for talking about and sharing your experiences. That is actually true contribution to education. Moving further to Miss Alka Singh. May I request you, ma'am, to share your views and your contribution to education.
Thank you so much, Captain Dinisha. Good evening to everyone. If I talk about the Army, I'm an Army officer's daughter, as well as a very proud Army officer's wife. That is how I start. And let me talk about the journey from where the contribution started. The contribution started when I got married and we were posted in Udaipur. My husband is from Five Guards. So we were posted in Udaipur. I saw Appleton was in Siachen before that. So, there were so many of these soldiers who did not have their fingers, the kind of, I'm sure all of us, we are aware about it. So that was the time I thought that what can we do for them? I was studying, I was in a college only at that time, like got married, but I was in college. So I started off at a welfare center. We used to have our classes in the welfare center. Initially, like before I got married, we used to have classes for our soldiers' wives. All of us, we used to teach them how to fill up a postcard, how to write a letter, all those. Somewhere being an economics person, so I said, let me start. There were JCO's kids. From there, the journey started. Now if I look back, there were so many of these kids who could clear the competitive exam, got good grades. And there was this diverse variety of kids I would teach. I would wait for 4 p.m., walk up to the welfare center and teach. Rest of like every army wife, like every Paltan officer's wife would contribute in a different manner, someone teaching embroidery. But I was passionate about teaching. From there we started. And the next posting, what we had was, as Captain Dinisha was talking right now about Northeast. So we posted in Northeast. And the very first year, because my husband, there was a camp he raided and he got a Sena medal. He's a gallantry Sena medal. And once again, we were on a post which was known as Fungyar, and only lady wife over there, tin shed house. And he would go for operations for 10 days. I would stand over. So from there again, although we were asked not to climb down and come to the village, the small village, but the teacher inside me, like what to do, I had my little baby. I would put him on my back, walk down, again, teach few kids over there. So that was a time then when I was very clear, this is my passion. Otherwise, somewhere I'd done my MBA also. So I thought, that is another way of looking. But I said, no, this is which is my passion. So army, as well as I think the environment, it made me what I am today. And then moving on, like I would not talk about all the postings and all that. We came to Surat. We were in OTA, like Officers Training Academy. That was the first time when the lady cadets were there. The first 2 batches, Captain Denisha. So that is.
Ma'am, you were there probably when I was taking training then in that case.
Yes, exactly. My husband was there, and I used to go and walk up to your barracks and, talk to the lady cadets, because we were asked that in case, the comfort, that was the first time. The second batch, I remember, where they were still stronger. The first one, there were so many breakdowns. So you'd go, meet, talk. So that's another teacher. And there in OTA, there was this nursery school which was there. Me being a PGT and our CEO, at that time, the talent CEO, he said that if Mr. Narendra, you can handle this small school because there's no one out there. So, I'm sure all of us, all the ladies, we can relate how adaptable we are. There was nowhere I thought that why. I said, yes, we'll take up. And from a nursery school to grade 5, that is the journey for those 2.5 years, could take up. Moved to Suratgarh. Suratgarh when we came, so again, the army school was till grade 10. And my husband was the DQ out there. So they said that, is it okay if you would like to join this school? I said, would love to do that. Joined. And within 3 months, the principal had to move out. So I was the principal of Army Public School, Suratgarh. So the contribution, and somewhere, the only thing was how much these soldiers do for our husbands. And this is least what we can do for them. So each child, they would come only for 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, from their village, the time when they used to get this house. And I somehow had that thing in me that the best what we can do for them. And this journey is continuing even now. And believe me, whenever there's a parent, like in spite of whatever the admission constraints, everything, the parent says, I'm from Army, there's a different feel altogether which comes. And you say, no formality is required. The admission is done. Like I don't even make that person come the second time. And a complete true Fauji by heart, from like, from post to post, I would move with my husband. And the experiences, from peace station to a field station, lucky enough that we were never separated. We were always together, like, otherwise army, we have this, because later, it became mechanized. So therefore, long stations. Jammu, we were there for 7 years. So that way. So for me, I feel army and education, it's like together. And one more feeling, which is absolutely candid, somewhere, because my father was in Dehradun, like he was posted in Dehradun. So we used to go for, passing out POPs in IMA. And it would just, that I want to be there. So I keep telling myself that, it's not necessarily you stand on the border and you fight and then only you're there. You're there in case you're sincere, you have integrity, you're honest, and you know the purpose of whatever you're doing. I think this is what Army has taught us, I think all of us.
I would like to welcome Lieutenant General Kulkarni. He's the principal of Mayo College, Ajmer.
Yes.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, Captain, you can start.
Okay. Welcome, sir. And I resume from there. As Ms. Alka was talking about, I could see the modulations in her voice were taking her back to the memory lane and then connecting and then emotional connect. And as Alokesh sir had been talking about value system, so was Ms. Alka talking about it. And I just remember an incident where when I went for my reunion to OTA 2 years back, and I was talking to the commandant, and he just was making a mention that we have our wet canteen where the stall is done ready for the movie and other sessions, and it is unmanned. There's nobody. They say that we put the amount, like label it, and we put a box. Whatever you want to pick up, and the price is written, you drop in. And he said, as yet, from that time till now, we haven't gone for a loss. Maybe somebody doesn't have change and drop extra amount. And same thing I adopted in my school in India, the same chain of school when I was heading in Indore. And because there were small complaints where somebody was losing pencil, eraser, and parents were complaining. So I started this in one of the sports event. I said, let me experiment that. So I gave a big lecture. I narrated my story that I have taken some legacy when I went for reunion, and we would like to start this. And I also started with 5 and 10 rupees things, and those things were laid over there in a corner, no CCTV camera. And I said, in case you want to donate extra, great. Otherwise, we expect the values you inherit from your family should come in, and that is what I want to see. Believe you me, it was 1 rupee extra which I got in that. And that is how we talk about the inheritance and contribution to education beyond the literacy part of it. So I am yet to see General Kulkarni, sir. If he's there, may I request him to share his views?
Yeah, actually, I may be a bit out of context because I've just joined in. I told Pranav I had something else, and I said if I finish that, I'll come.
Yes, sir.
But it's so nice to hear. I heard Alka ma'am and you speaking. And of course, Captain Sen is an old friend of mine. And so I think if you allow me, Dinisha, maybe if the other speakers can get a chance to speak first, so I'll get a better idea of the context.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you so much. And moving on, when we were talking about values, we were talking about connect, and we were talking about direct or indirect contribution to the field of education. May I now request Ma'am Archana? I think she was visible right now. I don't know whether she's there or not.
Yes, she's very much there.
Yeah. Ma'am, if you can come and share your views, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Captain Dinisha. My thoughts, my feelings do resonate with most of you right now. So be it adaptability or adjustability, as what Alka said just now. Yes, Army or maybe the defense forces, it teaches us that. And I'm reminded of something, very interesting. They say that though we have 4 gentlemen sitting here, so do excuse me, but then they say Sri Shakti is an integral part of our Rashtriya Shakti. And if you're married to a defense officer, or maybe if you are a defense officer's wife, then yes, you are gifted. So it's something like that, because it gives you that kind of an exposure. And then it is not a profession, basically. It is a way of life. It teaches you so many things. And you know, the kind of discipline, the code of conduct, you see it, especially if you're born in the army officer or defense officer's family, then you're seeing it from the very beginning. General Kulkarni, basically, we all are sharing our experiences and how it has shaped and molded us, you know, this profession. So this is what we are talking about. So just to give you the update. So when it comes to adjustability and adaptability, I can tell you that I'm a registered lawyer. You know, I started my journey as a lawyer, but then getting married to an army officer changed my profession totally, you know, because you have to adjust, you have to adapt yourself. And when you adjust and adapt yourself, then you see that you have to upgrade your education also. And I did all my post-graduation and then B.Ed and M.Ed and then PhD, everything after my marriage. And then today I am, you know, what I am. So it is the, you know, the army has contributed basically to it. And then we always see and say, like what you said, Captain Danisha, that we find that army officer wife or maybe the defense officer's wife, they always take an edge over the civilian ladies. You know, when we see it in the school also, in corporates also, they have ideas, they have talents, they have expertise. Now, from where do they get these competencies and proficiencies? It is because of the kind of profession or the uniform they get wedded to. And it is not the army or the navy or the air force we get married to. It is the complete organization we, you know, get married to, and we start adapting things. And then we start valuing, because it teaches us responsibility, because most of the times the husbands are out. So, you know, the complete responsibility to manage the children, your in-laws, your relatives, your friends, your army life, you know, your seniors, it is totally on your shoulder. So you start learning in the bargain. And then that, you know, starts changing your overall personality. Because I remember that in the beginning, because I was not from the defense background. So when I got married, so how to sit, you know, on a table, how to serve meals, how to serve tea, how to talk to the senior officer's wife or to the senior officers, how to dress up, how to talk, how to converse, how to communicate. From there to this day, you know, the canvas of learning is vibrant and so full of, you know, so many interesting stories like what we had been listening, like what Captain Sain also said, that value, yes, no doubt it teaches us, you know, not only to value the emotions, the feelings of others, but also it teaches you a lot of values. And the discipline, like what Suchita said, you know, the minute anybody enters your school, they can make it out that there is some, you know, army or navy or maybe defense, you know, touches there. Starting from the guard entry to the reception to come and talk to the teachers, that element, that flavor is always there of discipline. So that is, and that gets ingrained in us. The poise, the calm, the patience, the tolerance, it comes in us, you know, naturally over the period of time. And then no doubt, since like what you said, Captain Danisha, that we all are the role models as leaders, you know, we influence so many people around us. So it has always a cascading effect in your own organization. It percolates down your own qualities, your own values, your own teachings, your own learnings slowly and gradually start moving down. And then when you look back, you know, when sometimes I meet the students who have already moved out of my school. So I remember initially when I came, I started this school from the very beginning. It's a 12 years old school. And I joined this school when there were just 51 students. To this date, when I have more than 2,000 students. So when you meet your own student, I started, you know, I said that I have parents, you know, came and met me. They said, ma'am, why it is that children, you know, are so shy of saying namaskar to anybody? I said, fine. I said, I am going to now start this. So initially it was good morning. Then the greetings changed into namaskar with folded hands. And my children till date, when they meet me outside, they come, they touch your feet, they, say namaskar, ma'am. It gives you so much of satisfaction that what I learned, this is how, the army or the defense forces has contributed in making me the kind of person I am, and I have evolved and I'm still evolving. I'm still learning. Every day is a learning journey. So this is what it is. And another thing which was just striking my mind, what Alka and Sucheta was saying, that people spend so much of money going for vacation to such areas, having serenity or beauty, whereas by the profession of our husbands, we get a chance to stay to such beautiful places. So that is another big charm. That's a different thing, that initially always we think that army or maybe defense forces is all about partying and golfing and dancing, but you later on realize that no, what the kind of responsibility your husband is having, and then and different kind of jargons you learn. I remember myself, the difference between GOC and JCO. I was not clear. It took time for me to understand the difference. So over the period of time, you learn so many things. And when I look back, I really laugh at so many things, the kind of mistakes. It was so difficult to understand that whether the captain is senior or the colonel is senior. So all those things come slowly and gradually, and it has its own charm. So as an army officer's wife, I have enjoyed this journey tremendously, and the kind of a journey I have traversed, I feel so accomplished, so fulfilled, and I hope it is going to continue like that. And I think the time has come on this chair that we can now give back what we have learned, all these years from the army. So thank you so much. Thank you.
You are giving back in a wonderful way. And yes, the difference between, as you said, JCU and GOC, and we have a captain here and we have a captain who's a colonel here. So, this comes in when you are in. And your question, taking it forward, where does it come from? Sitting on a table, getting ready for a 5-course meal, or fixing that 5-course meal for your guest, cooking multiple dishes, or having a salad decoration, which is probably much beyond that, and yet contribution to education, being a lawyer. Where does it come from? Does it come from being a wife from, a forces background? Probably we are missing out to something more. A separation where people are leading, whether it is an officer separated from family, he takes the load and goes forward, and that load is decreased by a capable lady who's taking care of it. I'm not digressing from the topic. We are forgetting how do we how we have enjoyed in SFAs. What are the hardships when husband is there, not there close to you, and whatever ladies have faced, or whatever when husband comes to know that the family is facing back home. This is adding to our own education. And these educationists who are taught by circumstances, who are nurtured by circumstances to be the smartest people to emerge out of all these odds, are the leaders in the field of education. And then whether you are an officer's wife, or even these days, even the wives of other ranks in Army, Navy, Air Force, or even in paramilitaries, there is outstanding performance they are having in various fields. And that is the reason, if we look back to the glamour world and these girls winning these pageants, why they are from forces. No, it is an education in proxy manner, which is every 2 years we are packing off our bags and going to some other place where they have to have new friends, new accommodation, everything new. This is the education which has been inherited in forces and taken forward to nurture others This is the education which is valued most. This is the best contribution as far as forces people are concerned, whether the forces people are uniformed personnel and directly into education, or the wives who have probably transformed themselves, whether they are doctors, engineers, or lawyers, and became educationists now, disseminating what they have learned in indirect manner. Moving forward, may I now request Mr. Yasin Patel? He's listening to us. I don't know whether he's a Fauji or not, but probably by that time he has already become a Fauji listening to all of us. So over to you, Mr. Yasin, to share your views.
Thank you very much, Captain Disha. First of all, I would thank everybody for doing this. It's a wonderful opportunity to interact with all the Faujis over here. What I believe is there is not one Fauji who is there on the line of action. There's one more Fauji which is there at home taking care of the other part, the most important part. So you play the most important part of keeping the family intact, running the show, doing a fantastic job, and being such a beautiful profession, and helping so many changes that comes to the entire education system. We visit a lot of schools, but in a school, whenever we visit any person who's from the defense background, we can make out the difference in that particular school. There's a discipline, there's a different curriculum. More than that, there is a skill that you can make out. The students want to practically implement. They're so focused, they know what to do and how to do it. So that is a lot of changes which comes from a school which is run by professions or from defense background. I got an opportunity to work with my CEO, ex-CEO in Times of India, who was from a defense background. His name was Captain Deepak Lamba. He came from a very reputed family. The best thing about Deepak Lamba was he started the first Times of India initiative of education with running a show of 27 centers, the first education initiative of Times of India. Post that, after the achievement, taking the Times of India to the great height, currently he is heading WWM Worldwide Media, which is in charge of 40 magazines from Filmfare to Femina to Grassy, everything. And this is the guy who launched MTV Bloomberg in India. And the key success about his achievement as a professional, one of the top CEOs of India, is the defense background he's coming from. He was so focused, so prominent. He know what he wants, how he wants, and that discipline we can make out of the entire business focus. That has a lot of learning from him. And the kind of a talks that I have got and so much learning from you, ma'am, it is a great opportunity to have a fantastic interaction. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Patel. Before I move on to General Kulkarni, I would just like to share another strengthening experience of my life. There was, when I was heading a school in Indore, there was one very reputed school whose bus met with an accident, and they lost 4 students in that accident. And next very day, people thought, the educational community, they thought that there is a fear in everybody's heart. Children probably and parents won't send children to school, and they thought, let us declare it a holiday on the pretext that we are paying homage to those who lost their lives. My organizational people asked my opinion. I said, no, we will work, we will pay homage in our different way. So our strength was 70-80%, 30% refused to come in, and media caught idea that, okay, this school is opening. So they started calling my school that your school is insensitive, your principal is insensitive, you are not there to pay homage to people, those children who lost their lives, and there is a panic in parents, and you are so worried about your this thing and all that, and they were not able to answer. When I reached the school, I said, hold on, call all of them, all those who are interested to know the answer, and rest of them, then they can publish whatever it is. When I called them, it was kind of a mini press conference. When media was there, somebody was over phone, somebody preferred to come in, and I shared what in forces we do. I have done paragliding. I was in close connect with very dear friends who were paratroopers, and there's an incident, there is a piece of information which we all know, that anything which happens in any such adventure things, the entire unit goes for that activity. And so did I do when my first launch of paragliding was there. I was because it was a powerless glider. I was pulled on rock by because I pressed the wrong brake. So I was pulled on rock and I hit my head onto if I would have had, probably I would have taken away somewhere else. So my helmet was dented and I was also panicking. And my teacher at that time, the instructor said, let us not do. I said, no, I will do it, because I had that in mind. And probably if I wouldn't have done that first launch after that accident, probably I wouldn't have been qualified paraglider after that. So I shared that incident with them, that it is paying homage. We do pay homage from hearts. Panic has to be fought with bravery. Panic cannot be fought with closing eyes, that, okay, today this has happened, so I will not come. Am I supposed to close school forever because this accident has happened? Are we supposed to sit back at home when there is accident on road? Are we not supposed to take a flight when there is a flight crash? This is not the way we work. We take the bull by horns, we take the challenge, we prepare our children in such a way that tomorrow when they face the challenges, they are ready and standing tall to face those challenges, setting an example in front of others. And then that became a news, not withstanding to the news, but then those parents who were kind of writing mails one after the other that why we are insensitive started writing appreciation next day. And that is how probably we in forces stand tall, because we stand for the challenge. We face challenge, as one of you said that, Mr. Yasin said that it is the officer, if he's on war path or border, there is a lady who's holding the fort. There is an officer who's taking care of their jawans. Sir is here, and I'm sure he has led at various levels where when there is a preference which is required to be given, we give preference to somebody who's junior to us, so that we do our duty. And then we think for us, thinking one caption, keeping one caption in mind, service before self. And that is the biggest contribution in the field of education, living by example, living by hardships and still standing tall, taking challenges and converting them to opportunities, and then giving whatever best we have. All the ladies and gentlemen sitting here, they said that they are there to give back to society. That is true education in true sense. So I hold my views here, and I hand over the stage to Kulkarni sir for the keynote and closing remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dinisha. I must say it's a difficult ask to follow three ladies who have spoken with such conviction and passion. But let me pick up on something that I think Archana mentioned about the confusion between a GOC and a JCO. That, of course, is very common, but I've also faced very often, including in educational forums, where somebody calls me a lieutenant general, somebody calls me a colonel, but sometimes they call me just a lieutenant because they think just a general.
Yes, sir, I have seen that.
So people call me a lieutenant. So somebody then corrects somebody and says, look, listen, especially in a live event, look, listen, he's a lieutenant general, not a lieutenant. I said, don't correct that poor lady. I'm very flattered if she thinks I still look like a lieutenant.
So positive.
So, no, what I mean is a good leader doesn't carry his ranks on his shoulder. You don't need the title to be a leader, so to speak. And one of the things which I could gather, some of you have come from army families and married into the military families, some have not come from it. I think what that so-called skill that you are talking about that is picked up, the core skill that is picked up, I think, is adaptability. Circumstances change very rapidly. They could be geographical circumstances, they could be the unit you're serving in, it could be the climate you're operating in, it could be some transition with respect to your family. So the need for adaptability is absolutely paramount. And anybody who doesn't come to terms with this is either going to be unhappy or will have or would have been married formerly to a military person. Because I know some people who can't take it, who just can't take this life. On the other side, and this is something, perhaps I'm from an older generation, we saw the military life not as a profession, but as a vocation. It was a lifestyle choice. And let me tell you, today also in the corporates, I get an opportunity to hobnob with some famous people. They all tell me, you know, we work so hard, we earn so much money to be able to afford the lifestyle that the government has given you free of cost. You know, and as somebody mentioned, you get to visit all exotic places which nobody's ever heard of. You know, I once took my wife to a place ahead of Barmer. If you're now recollecting the 50 years of 71 war, there is a area there called Gadra city and Gadra road. One is on our side and one is on the other side.
Correct.
So I'd taken my wife to show them because my unit had fought there in 71. So we drove there, and you'd be surprised. At Gadra city, which is on the Indian side, there was enough opportunities for the ladies accompanying us to do shopping for clothes and jewelry in a border village. Okay. So now this is something money can't buy. People don't believe that this is what was happening there. But this is the reality that unless you've been to these places, if you've been to places like Arunachal, Nagaland and such places, you will find that the things that India has to offer in many places is far, far better than what you go and see, you know, famous tourist places in the world. And some of these places, today, of course, visitors go to Nathula and other places and all that. But there was a time when you weren't permitted. And it was a rarity if your friends or family members got a chance to come. And so this is the plus side. There is the negative side to it. It comes with hardships. It comes with separations. It comes with single parenting. I know my wife did single parenting of my children. They're grown up, married, working now. But sometimes I tell them, I said, hello, you're not children of a second parent. Maybe who? You know, count me in also. Because they grew up just with her. I mean, I don't, circumstances were such. So my wife, as I think Archana somebody mentioned, she was more qualified than I was when we got married. But then she opted out and said, okay, my family and children come first. And that is where I want to highlight a point which I didn't hear. Maybe it was said before I came, that in the military, we talk about, you know, there are two chains that operate. One is the chain of command, which what we all senior officers are used to. But there is also a chain of concern, which runs for us also. We have to do two, as I think Dinesh said, we have to look after our subordinates, you know, service before self and things. But more importantly, the chain of concern runs deep with the women. And let's say when I say a commanding officer, my wife was like the, you know, she may not have been so old by age then, but she was the mother of the regiment, so to speak. You understand? I mean, she was the agony aunt. And even if she was facing all sorts of problems herself, she was supposed to be calm, collected, and, you know, be the person to go to solve problems and stuff like that. So I think when those of you who have moved into education, I think this comes very easy to you. This chain of concern business really comes handy to you. And coupled with the fact that principals and all teachers face daily challenges, there's that other thing that adaptability also allows you to handle uncertainty. Uncertainty, you know, no 2 days are alike. And how you respond in uncertainty, again, what happens, your staff in your school will turn back and look at you, you know, okay, what next? And they somehow think you have a magic wand and you will find the right answer for them. Sometimes you may be in self-doubt, but you can't reflect that self-doubt. But whatever you come up with finally is a workable answer. And it is, you know, to their satisfaction. There is one issue which I want to just highlight, which I hear everywhere because associated with the armed forces, is discipline. I think for the wrong reasons. The discipline that you see at Rajpath and all is the discipline of conformity. Everybody marching in step, the arms swinging to the same height and stuff like that. That is not discipline. Okay, that's just conformity. What discipline is needed, or what comes out of the military system, is the capacity to focus. If you're say a shooter, if you are a good rider, you will understand that why focus is very important. Or let's say today cricket is, you know, in the news till recently. Only those cricketers who are highly focused will succeed. You may have talent, you may have skill, you may have anything, but you won't survive. And therefore, what the military environment teaches you is this whole business of focus. There's no margin for a loser in war. And therefore, when you do it, you have to get it right. And you got to, you know, be ready to take risks and not have regrets about it. So I think where the connotation of discipline needs to be understood, because a lot of people think discipline is, everything is in spick and span order, everything is in this thing. I think to be able to operate out of chaos is very important. And in fact, there's a famous French parachutist prayer. One of the lines goes like this, that God, please give me torment and chaos, so that they are relevant to the problem at hand. If everything is running smoothly, you don't need them. And I think this is where the military environment provides this, number one. And number two, I would say that the ladies who are associated either in uniform or as spouses, they are able to transfer this, especially those who are working in the education field, in a seamless and natural manner. And perhaps there are many of them are not even aware they have it in them. It's just it's become second nature with them by now. So I think with no disrespect meant to my dear friend Alokesh Sen, I think in the education sector, if the military, people from military families are making a mark or making a useful contribution, then I think the larger impact is actually coming out of the ladies who are in the education field rather than some of us. The only thing is, I would, there used to be a famous ad in the good old days for Avis Rent a Car by a famous ad guy called David Ogilvy. And he famously said that we are number 2, so we try harder. So I think that is the story of men in education. We are number 2, so we try harder. So I hope with that you will spare a thought for us. And I think I'll conclude here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for the grace of being number 2. That's how somebody can think of being number 1. It is a game of number 1 and 2, but then holding hands together, we march on. I always, when being an officer, I was used to see officers' wife in sari with a uniform person, and I always had a craze that I should marry a uniform person. And I married, and first thing I did was I got a picture clicked in sari with him because that was my desire. And now another thing, sir, Kulkarni sir, I've learned from you is the discipline of, I had that in mind, but you gave me words, discipline of conformity and discipline of capacity and capacity building. Gadra, I remember because I did my camel expedition there. So I stayed at Gadra and I shopped it from there as well. So all these things are very, very precious. And thank you so much, everyone. Alokesh, sir.
I would like to add, Captain.
Yes, yes, Pranav, sir.
Miss Singh said and Archana ma'am said, I'm from a school called Brightlands. Alka Singh knows that school. It's quite a strict school. But if any army person is to come for I saw myself in this principal office. Mr. Ravi Narang is the head of that school. The army person came for admission. He immediately said, let the girl go to the class and we will do the formalities.
Wow.
That's how things are there, man. Then I run a recruitment company. The majority of the clients ask for either retired army people or they want sons or daughters of army personals because they have got adaptability. They visit various cities, various languages, various cultures. And there is everyone knows in Visakhapatnam, all the schools are best of the teachers. All naval officers' wives are teachers out there. So they don't have any problem. And very interesting thing I'll say to just, man, I'll just take half a minute more. Man management and training, what Lieutenant General Kulkarni said. In our neighbor, on Colonel Thapa used to stay long time ago. He brought a young boy from Nepal. He trained him very nicely. He said, "Kancha jao, chithi dal ke aao." He was going, walking. He said, "Cycle leke jao." When he was coming back, he was dragging the bicycle. But क्या हुआ? पंचर ऊपर नहीं साहब. और फिर साहब चलाना ही नहीं आता. लेके क्यों गया साहब? आपने ऑर्डर दिया था. आपने कहा था. So these are the things. Plus, in my office, 2 people must have come. So reception said to अंदर आके बताओ मुझे. बोले एक आदमी है और एक फौजी आ रखा है. What is this?
So that is the identity.
Dr. Dinisha, if a CEO walks on the road, no one is going to notice him. If a Jawan walks on the road, everyone will notice him, man.
That is the difference. The advertisement comes and says, do you have it in you? And we sitting here all together say, yes, we have it in us. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Jai
Thank
Hind.
you so much, Madam Suchita Malakar, Principal, Poddar International School. Madam Archana Narayan, Indian High School, Dwarka, New Delhi. Ms. Alka Singh, Bluebell Model School. Lieutenant General Kulkarni, Principal, Mayo College, Ajmer. Captain Alokesh Sen, Principal Birla Public School, Pilani, Rajasthan, Mr. Yasin Patel, and definitely Captain Dr. Dinisha. Dinisha is also a lawyer. I don't know how he's done so many things. Captain Dr. Dinisha Singh is the principal of Global Indian International School, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Thank you. Salute to all of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I really
Bye.
enjoyed it.